Hello and welcome to another Take 10 video. In today's video, we continue our series on steps to knowing your identity. Today's topic is self-esteem, part 2. In our last Take 10 video, we established what a self-esteem is. That essentially it is how we feel about ourselves, our identity, our values, our beliefs, and our abilities. In this video about self-esteem, I wanted to share with you something that changed my concept about myself forever. It was a quote. The citation that I heard was from a movie where someone quoted Eleanor Roosevelt in saying, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." Let me repeat that for you. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. I believe that God gave me a revelation through this quote that in fact I was the one who was consenting to allowing people to treat me the way that they did. Let me explain. There's another side to this whole thing about philosophically. And before I get into what I really mean about it, I want to say what it's not. That others can and do make us feel poorly because they treat us poorly. That is absolutely true. I understand this point of view. However, I would like to point out something. Whether you believe people make you feel a certain way, that they are responsible for your feelings, or that you don't believe anyone can make you feel a certain way, that you are autonomous and you choose your own feelings, or maybe a mixture of these two things, like as I've come to believe, that at the end of the day, you have to come up with a strategy on your own as to how you are going to deal with how you feel. So philosophically, it doesn't really matter where you come from on this particular issue, but you do at the end of the day have to understand what you're going to do with your own feelings. In other words, what will I do about this feeling once I feel it? So I'd like to clarify for a moment, just so that people understand where I'm coming from and what I'm saying here in regards to taking responsibility for our own feelings. Some people have a wonderful way of shaming us, don't they? Into believing someone else's actions against us are somehow our fault, that it's our problem, and therefore we should feel bad or poorly, terrible, guilty, or even shameful about our own feelings, and that those feelings are all on us, that we are responsible for their behaviors. Many of us have maybe felt this way, and quite honestly, this is manipulative and abusive behavior that may come in many forms, such as physical, emotional, verbal, and sexual abuse. We're not talking about taking responsibility for the actions of others towards us. That is not what we're saying here. If this is happening to you in any relationship that you're currently in, I encourage you to seek help from a therapist for this. When we're talking about the way that someone makes us feel once you've encountered abuse, you may also experience a fight, flight, or freeze response, which is, quite honestly, a part of how God created our nervous system to learn to survive. Specifically, it is the sympathetic nervous system that is responsible for the fight, flight, or freeze responses in our bodies, and these are involuntary, meaning you do nothing to turn them on or off. Basically, you're not responsible for these types of actions or feelings that may trigger this type of a response in your body if you've experienced any kind of abuse in your past, or maybe you've experienced PTSD. So I wanted to be very clear about what I'm not saying that we are responsible for our feelings in regards to. Essentially, the nervous system knows what to do and will act accordingly. This is involuntary. So we're not talking about taking responsibility for our actions that way, or the actions of others when we've been through abuse or PTSD. So in both these illustrations, we are not responsible for how people make us feel or how situations make us feel and so on. I wanted to be very clear about that. But what I am saying regarding taking responsibility for our feelings is what we do have power over. And that is our own thoughts or feelings towards ourselves and our own internal dialogue with regards to ourselves and what we say to ourselves. For example, if you think or believe that you are worthless through your thoughts towards yourself, it will directly affect your feelings towards yourself, and you will feel worthless. When you feel worthless, sooner or later, you will act upon those feelings in some manner that reinforces that particular thinking or that particular feeling process, which will cause then a cycle, a cyclical thought or feeling process in the future that you are indeed worthless because you told yourself that you were worthless. The same goes for any other lie that you were to believe about yourself. For instance, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, I don't measure up, etc. In other words, in some cases, like in my own, I was responsible for what I did with the lies that people, and really we're talking about the enemy of our souls, acting in the world and telling us that we are these things, lying to us. And I did so by interacting with the world, and I believed some of those lies. I took the words that these people spoke about me, and I allowed them to make me feel poorly about myself. This was my responsibility, not what they were doing to me. In this sense, I am saying that I have full authority, autonomy, and responsibility to speak good things to myself or bad things to myself, to believe those lies or not. All of this came from one quote. Isn't this amazing? But no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. I will say this as well, that even with all the people who see me in therapy, who come to me to talk to me as a therapist to overcome their abuse and what has been done to them, this is completely involuntary actions towards them and completely out of their control. But at the end of the day, it's up to those people to allow the abuse of the past to dictate who they are today, or in the future, or not. For some, it's a long journey of healing. It's arduous, it's painful, and it's difficult. For some, it is not. I've seen Jesus heal hundreds of people who have been through abuse, and I believe with all of my heart that Christ can do anything in you if you will allow him to do so as well. So when I heard this quote, I started a journey for myself of learning how not to give my power away to other people, not to consent to their lies towards me. My thoughts and feelings towards myself are my own, and in this sense, I am responsible for my own thoughts and feelings. No one else is. And I will never give my power and my consent to anyone to make me feel poorly about myself ever again. Ever since I accepted myself for who I am in Christ, I have begun to love myself as Christ loves me. Many Christians I talk to say that they're shocked that I could love myself. And quite honestly, erroneously, they're believing that somehow this makes us prideful or arrogant. But I want to let you know that I do accept myself for who Christ made me to be. And because of it, I wake up every single day thanking God that he made me and made me ready to do the work that he sent me here to this earth to accomplish. And so I'm quite happy about that. So how about you? Are you ready to start believing in who God made you to be? Are you ready to finally stop giving your consent to others to make you feel poorly about your identity? Well, that's all I have for today. I would like to ask you, because we haven't done this so far, would you please reach out to us via email and tell us how these videos are blessing you? Would you even include maybe a short testimony as well? We would love to hear from you. It would encourage us so much. We look forward to seeing you in our next Take 10 video, where we will continue our series on steps to knowing your identity, self-confidence. Until then, take care, and may God bless you.